This is BBC World. Now with another hard-hitting interview, here's Stephen Sackur and Hardtalk.
The rise of Iran as a regional power is a source of growing concern to the United States and her allies. But do Western leaders and their advisers really understand the Islamic Republic and its strategic ambitions? My guest today is a senior Iranian cleric. He's been described as an Ayatollah for the dot-com age. What's his vision of Iran's future? Ayatollah Dr. Hadavi Tehrani, welcome to Hardtalk.
Thanks.
You say you want to develop a religious dialogue with the West, but that's not easy, is it, given the nature of the government in Tehran?
No, I don't think so. I think it's not so much difficult because, you know, there are many ways to have a fruitful dialogue among religions, among believers, and we've had a good experience in this field with different countries and with different religions throughout the world.
But you, I'm sure, would agree that President Ahmadinejad has made it more difficult for you to reach out to other faiths, given some of his comments in the last year.
Maybe it depends on your interpretation about his sayings or his activities, but I don't think so.
His sayings are pretty clear, aren't they? I mean, let's just take the first installment on December the 9th of 2005. He said that the Holocaust was a myth,
I think it is a scientific point of view, or maybe sometimes a political point of view, but it doesn't mean that there is no way for dialogue. It is really, I think, an opening door for a more deep understanding and research.
An opening rather than the closing of a door?
No, I don't think so, because, you know, it is an idea. When you introduce
it's an idea that obviously has no historical evidence and facts behind it.
Okay.
And as you know, in many parts of the world, it is regarded as outright offensive.
Okay, then you can discuss about it. I don't think so that it is so much difficult to discuss about an issue, because sometimes we believe in something and then we reach to this understanding that it was not so much right. Then we can reach to a better understanding about different issues, such as Holocaust.
How about wiping? Do you say the same sorts of things, do you, about Mr. Ahmadinejad saying that Israel should be wiped off the map? He wants to see a world without Zionism. Israel, he says, is heading toward annihilation. We say the fake regime cannot logically continue to live.
Okay, what does it mean? It is important. What does it mean? When we refer...
It's pretty clear what it means, isn't it? He wants to see Israel destroyed.
No. When we're talking about these words, we should be more exact about understanding it. I think...
Is there a problem of exactitude with Israel heading towards annihilation, should be wiped off the map? Is that not exact enough?
It means the regime, not the people, not the territory. He is talking about regime. It means it is only a legal term talking about the legitimacy of the regime.
Mr. Ahmadinejad is not a religious scholar. You are, but you are prepared to back him up and back up these words.
No. You know, when we are talking about some of the words, it is not because he is political or I am religious. It is because we have some concepts. And if we refer to the concepts that which has been introduced by the Islamic Revolution of Iran, we will see that the concept of democracy have been accepted by us, and we believe that democracy should be worked in different countries.
Well, we'll get on to democracy
way.
And freedom of speech and whether the people inside your country enjoy freedom of speech later. But I just want to pin you down on this, because you say you want to reach out to faiths around the world. You want a dialogue.
Yeah,
how can you seriously expect a dialogue when you, as you have today, defend the words that I've just quoted of Mr. Ahmadinejad?
As I said, we believe in the dialogue among civilizations, dialogue among religions, dialogue among believers.
But do you seriously think there's anything to talk about when you begin by defending these sorts of words?
You know, the same thing is happening now. When you're judging about some others not in an honest way, then you may say that the way of debate or discussion has been closed. For example, when you're calling resistance a legal resistance, a legitimate resistance, which has been happened, for example, in Lebanon by Hezbollah, when you call it a terrorism, then you may say that there is no way for dialogue. But I don't think so. I think there are some misunderstandings, and unfortunately, I think this misunderstanding has been emphasized by some of the media. And we can correct so many meanings.
We'll talk about Hezbollah.
We will be able to reach to a more peaceful world, I think.
Well, we'll talk about Hezbollah and definitions of terrorism in a moment, but I first want to talk about the nuclear issue. Do you think Iran having the nuclear bomb is compatible with Islamic doctrine?
No, we have said it several times that Islam doesn't permit to have nuclear power, nuclear weapon, not nuclear power. It is, of course, a right for all of the people to have this power. But a nuclear weapon is not permitted in Islam.
Not permitted
not for defensive and not for offensive war.
So in no circumstances could the Islamic Republic of Iran develop a nuclear weapon?
Yeah, of course. And I've asked the same question in Italy from my colleagues, Jews and Christian colleagues, because we've had a seminar about war based on the Abrahamian religions. And I asked the same question. One of them, which was a famous feature among the Jewish scholars, Marshall Berger, who is in the United States, and he was an advisor for Daddy Bush, he said that we believe in the same idea based on our own concepts, Judaism. I said, okay, then how can you explain the nuclear weapon in Israel? He said, I cannot explain it, but it is not based on our religious values.
But
we are doing based on religious values.
Sticking with Iran, you've been quite clear with me that there is absolutely no way Iran as an Islamic republic could have the nuclear bomb. I just wonder why on the 26th of May this year you said to the AP Newswire, maybe it's not acceptable in Islam, but in some circumstances there could be special threats.
Yeah, he was asking about the Pakistani issue at that time. AP was talking about the Pakistani issue.
Special threats, though, what does that mean? In certain circumstances, you can have the bomb after all?
No. I said, based on the concept, it is not permissible. But sometimes you may make someone that it was an issue about Pakistan, not about Iran.
Well, let's turn it to Iran. I want to consider the circumstances, special circumstances that you believe could allow Iran to acquire the nuclear bomb.
Yeah, I see. But, when you want to interpret something, you should know the context. He was asking about Pakistan and about the nuclear weapon in Pakistan. I said, based on Islamic point of view, it is not acceptable. Then he said, it is an Islamic republic, Pakistan. I said, okay, it is. But they may have felt some kind of threats, I don't know, and maybe they have reached to this point that they should have it. But based on the concepts, the main concepts, essential concepts in Islam, it is not permissible, of course.
And is that because a nuclear weapon would cause such massive casualties among civilians?
It is. And it is not... the important point is that you cannot imagine how it will be harmful for the next and the future generation about the environment and so on. Because of this, it is not permitted.
So it is haram, it is forbidden to consider the use of a nuclear weapon, but it is not, it seems, in your view, haram or forbidden to consider terrorism against civilians, the blowing up of buses
terrorism
by suicide bombs, or the launching of weapons into civilian areas. That doesn't seem to be haram at all.
It is also haram. It depends on, of course, it depends on the case that you are talking about. But terrorism,
why does it depend on the case I'm talking about? If in nuclear weapons, it doesn't depend on the case I'm talking about at all. It is an absolute that one cannot kill civilians.
Terrorism
in that way.
is also
why is it
haram.
not an absolute that one cannot kill civilians, for example, by a suicide bomb attack?
Yeah, terrorism is also haram. It is not permitted. It is forbidden. But it
so
depends.
You do not. You walk away from your government's position, which supports Hamas, Islamic Jihad.
We are not supporting terrorism at all. No. Our government never supports terrorism. And we believe
but your government clearly does support Hamas, Islamic Jihad.
It is your judgment, and I think it is a prejudgment. I don't know.
All of those groups, as you know, have killed civilians using suicide bomb
I'd like to ask you a question. When you refer to some of the issues, such as systematic assassination, what do you think about it? Is it terrorism or not?
I'm asking you about a specific instance. For example,
I'm also
Hamas
asking
and
about
Islamic Jihad
using
suicide bomb tactics against Israeli civilians, men, women and children on buses. Is that haram or is it not haram?
I'm saying when we refer to special cases, then we should refer to other side. When we are talking about systematic assassination, when there is a list Israeli government now talking about terroring, assassinating some of the features, some of Hezbollah features, Hamas features, and so on. What does it mean? I think it is the most clear example for terrorism. Nobody talks about it.
So in your view, this is political, it's relative. There isn't an absolute when it comes to terrorism.
No, I think there are some values, some measurements
so
that you can refer.
Wrong, then. Your government is wrong to sponsor groups that use tactics like suicide bombing.
No, it depends. As I said, we should refer to the situation. They are defending from themselves, and when there is no other choice for them, they may do some of the things. It is not acceptable by Islam. But when we refer to Israeli government, they are doing some of the things that it is the examples of terrorism, as I said. Systematic assassination. I asked the same question.
You've made that point. I want to ask you about Osama bin Laden. Is he a terrorist?
Yeah, of course. We have rejected his idea, his group from the beginning. You know, one of the most important misunderstandings about Islam, I think, was presented by Taliban. We reject the understanding about Islam that they are presenting it, and we are rejecting the regime that they established in Afghanistan. You know, we never accepted Taliban's regime in Afghanistan, and we were always against them.
To continue this definition of what is and isn't terrorism, do you believe that the so-called insurgents in Iraq are terrorists?
I don't know the issue of insurgents.
The insurgents who are attacking American forces in Iraq, but also those militia groups who are indulging in massive sectarian violence.
You know, the things that are happened in Iraq, we should see them and analyze them inside the environment, inside the conditions that is happening now in Iraq. In my point of view, the American forces now should go out of Iraq because now there is a legitimate Iraqi regime, and they can control the government. And therefore they should go out. There is an Islamic resistance against them. But besides this, there are some other activities out of this border which is not accepted by us. So many Shia are killed now in Iraq because they are Shia. They are innocent people that they are killed by Taliban, by Al-Qaeda, by Ba'athi forces which have been left after Saddam's regime, and it is not accepted by...
Well, what you're painting is a complex vision of what is happening in Iraq. The Americans are putting out the first feelers toward perhaps looking for cooperation from Iran in bringing stability to the situation. Do you believe that can happen?
I think so, because there was some signs from Iranian side that they are ready to help the Iraqi government to establish a powerful and secure government there in Iraq.
So you would stop fighters crossing the border from Iran into Iraq who are joining the Shia death squads and the Shia militias?
I don't know if there is anything happening like this. It is some rumors saying about Iran.
Well, you know from the death statistics that there are death squads working in the Shia community, killing Sunnis. You know that. No,
it is not true. Maybe there is some kind of clashes between them, but there is no program for killing Sunnis. Because as I said, we believe in dialogue. Many Sunnis are living in Iran in peace. There is no problem between Shia and Sunni in Iran, even between Shia and between Muslims and Christians, even between Muslims and Jews.
But my point is that you are prepared to work with the Americans to bring stability to Iraq.
As I said, the Iranian government is ready to help the Iraqi government to establish a powerful state there.
But you know, for the time being, that means actually having a dialogue with the Americans, who are in Iraq and have a great influence over the Iraqi government.
Okay, if so, then so.
I just want to establish that fact, because I then want to put to you the words of Ayatollah Khomeini. When he was still alive, he said, America is the #1 enemy of all the oppressed peoples. Iran is effectively at war with America, and compromise with America would be, in his words, humiliation, to which martyrdom would be preferable.
Yeah, America is always against Iran and has been always against Iran.
But
and
now you're saying you would cooperate
Iran.
with the Americans.
As I said, we are ready to cooperate with Iraqi. As I said, we are ready to cooperate with Iraqi government to establish a powerful state there. And I think our brothers in Iraqi government, they are ready to help us. And I think if the others go out of the region, then the people there, they can help each other to establish security there.
I was just looking for a bit of flexibility there, just to see if you were going to modify the message that was established by Ayatollah Khomeini some time ago, because you have been described as the sort of modern 21st century Ayatollah. And I wonder if you believe it is important now for Iran to modernize and reform itself.
Iran, I think, is a modern state, and if you refer to the facts that are existing in Iran, you will find that it is a modern state based on democracy, and the people, they have freedom of speech, freedom of social and political activities, and now we will have, just a few months later, we will have elections, council of experts, and the other elections in Iran. And I think there is no problem for democracy or modernity in Iran.
Clearly, Iran isn't a democracy as we would recognize it in the West. And indeed, your own great spiritual mentor and guide, Ayatollah Yazdi, said it shouldn't be a democracy. In 1998, I saw a quote where he said, "Be careful not to be deceived. Accepting Islam is not compatible with democracy."
I think it's his personal point of view.
So you think he's wrong, do you?
Yeah, I think this, our supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has explained the Islamic democracy, and he has explained that there is total acceptance from Islamic side, the idea of democracy, and they are compatible. Of course, there are some values, concepts in Islam, and we should have them in the system that we accepted.
But
it doesn't mean that we should reject democracy. We have accepted the idea of democracy from the beginning of the Islamic Revolution of Iran.
Can you be a modern democracy where women don't have equal rights, where still, technically at least, it's possible for a woman to be stoned to death for adultery, where women cannot get certain jobs simply because of their sex? Is that all part of a modern democracy?
A lot of the things... No, the job is free, and most of the positions,
that's, again, not true. You know that inside your country there is a controversy raging because women are not allowed, for example, to be judges.
Now they are.
But for many, many months, many people inside the religious establishment argued that women had no right to pass sentences.
But now they are judges in different courts. They are judges now, and they have different positions in government.
Is there a woman senior judge in your country?
Not now. But
will there ever be a woman senior judge in your country?
No, sometimes something...
No, there will not be, will there? Because it is simply regarded as un-Islamic.
Okay, then you may ask, have been there in your recent or contemporary history, have been there any king, for example, instead of queen? You may say no. Then I can say, then the men doesn't have the right to be the king?
The point is, you had an opportunity to modernize your country. The people voted for President Khatami. President Khatami pushed for major reforms, particularly on the issue of women's rights. He was blocked, wasn't he, time and again by the religious establishment. You say you're modern, but you've blocked modernity.
No, he has done a lot in this way, as you said, and this way is still open, and we are still in the same way.
Why is a woman's life only worth half of that of a man's? If there is a murder committed, the family of the victim have the right to settle.
Yeah, it is something else. It is something.
It's such a big symbol, isn't it?
No.
It
is something else.
No.
If we want to judge about these issues, we should understand the source of law in Islam and how we reach to the law. If we can understand them, then we will see that there is no problem in this side. And it doesn't mean that we have neglected the women's right. It doesn't mean so.
Well, let's talk about press freedoms, another part of a modern democracy. The Index on Censorship Press Watchdog has just put you as number 162 out of 168 in terms of curbs on press freedom. We've seen in the last 6 months many demonstrations which have ended with the security police beating demonstrators calling for women's rights, for example.
No,
what
I
sort
don't
of
think
freedoms
so.
are there in your country?
No, where was these demonstrations? I'm living in Iran, and I have not heard about these kind of demonstrations that you're talking about.
In June, according to Human Rights Watch, 70 people were arrested after police started beating a crowd who were demanding greater rights for women. Were you not there that day?
I don't think so. Maybe there are...
Maybe you were away from Tehran that day.
No, not so much away from Tehran.
Maybe you're not aware that 13 people have been imprisoned as journalists and web bloggers over the last year. Maybe you're unaware that Human Rights
I
Watch
think,
has just described
maybe
Iran
there was
as the biggest prison in the Middle East for journalists.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not aware of these things.
No,
but they do
I
not
am
make
aware
your
about
country
all
look
the
like
things
a
that are
modern
happening in
democracy.
Iran. No. I think I am aware about all the things in Iran. And many of these reports that you're talking about, just small groups, that some of them have their roots out of Iran, and they are so much minority and weak minority that nobody pay any attention to them. Even the important political groups, they do not pay attention to this. You can refer to President Khatami. He will be here just 2 weeks later. And you may ask the same questions from him. You will see that he will also reject the idea, even if he was helping the reform in Iran and he was a reformist in Iran. But he will reject the idea because these news, I think, are some news that it was, focused only in Western media, and therefore I have said
you say
just
that,
one. I want to add just one point that the Iran that you're talking about is in another planet. It is not the Iran that I am living in. It is not the Iran.
Let's talk about the Iran you're living in, because you want to join the Assembly of Experts, which has enormous power, doesn't it, actually, to appoint the supreme leader ruler of your country. It sounds to me as though you want to push Iran in a more conservative direction than the one it's already in.
No. You know, we are always in the same way, and we were always in the same way. Maybe there are some different understandings.
Well, maybe your people don't want you to be in the same way anymore. Because if you look at the statistics, three-quarters of your people are under 30. There is the internet now. There is more information than ever about what's happening in the rest of the world.
They are participating.
They don't want the rule of the old generation of Ayatollahs anymore.
You think so? But they are participating in elections now, and they have elected President Ahmadinejad, and they will elect the members of Council of Experts. They will participate, and you will see they have been participating. Now the new generation is the most powerful hand for Mr. Ahmadinejad now. When he goes to different cities now in Iran, the most important audience among his audience are the youth from different groups, from different cultures. They have accepted him, and he is so much powerful because of the youth.
Do you think young people are happy to stick with the status quo?
I think most of them, the majority of them, a powerful majority, they are happy, and therefore we have so much powerful and well-established government now in Iran without any kind of the pressure that you're talking about. I think there are some myths that you're saying. I don't say you don't have some references. You have, but your references are the same as the ideas and interpretations that you're introducing based on some special Western point of view. Therefore, I think there is different kinds of judgment. You are judging about Israel in some other way, different from Iran or Lebanon or Iraq.
Dr. Hadavi Tehrani, we're out of time. Thank you very much for being on Hardtalk.
Nice to meet you.